You know that feeling when your car makes a weird noise, and your first thought isn't, let me get this fixed. It's, please don't let this cost more than I have in my account. That low-level panic that hits the second something unexpected goes wrong. That feeling has a name. And there's one specific number that makes it disappear. Forever. It's not what you think. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do about it. Here's the reality most people won't say out loud. 57% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense without going into debt. Not because they don't earn enough, because the system never taught them the one thing that breaks this cycle. And that thing is simpler than you think. The number is $1,000. That's it. $1,000. And I know what you're thinking right now. Marcus, that's nothing. That can't possibly change anything. But that's exactly what I thought too, until I understood what's actually happening in your brain when you don't have it. My name is Marcus, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, psychology, and why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly, while others stay stuck, no matter how much they earn. If you want honest, practical answers to those questions, make sure you subscribe, because that's all we do here. In this video, we're going to cover exactly why $1,000 changes your brain, not just your bank account. How to get there even if you feel like you're starting from zero. And what you should do the moment you hit that number. Let's get into it. And here's the part that's going to surprise you most. The biggest transformation that happens at $1,000 has absolutely nothing to do with money. What actually changes is something most financial experts never talk about, because they don't even realize it's happening. I'll show you exactly what it is in just a moment. Let's start from the very beginning, because to truly understand why $1,000 changes everything, you first need to understand what life actually looks and feels like without it. And I promise you, once you see it laid out this clearly, you'll never look at your savings account the same way again. When you have zero savings, or close to it, every single financial decision feels dangerous. Think about it. Taking a new job feels risky because what if it doesn't work out? Moving to a better apartment feels impossible because what if something goes wrong with the deposit? Even saying yes to a $50 dinner with friends becomes a calculation. Can I actually afford this right now? You are constantly playing defense with your money. And here's the brutal truth about defensive financial thinking. When you're always defending, you can never move forward. You can never take the calculated risks that actually build a better life. You're stuck. And the worst part? You probably don't even realize it's happening, because it just feels like being responsible. So here's what actually changes when you save your first $1,000. And pay close attention here, because this is the part nobody talks about. It has nothing to do with what you can buy with $1,000. Nothing. The real shift is entirely psychological. When you have $1,000 sitting in a dedicated emergency fund, not your regular checking account, a separate account just for emergencies, your brain begins processing risk in a fundamentally different way. Psychologists call it shifting from a scarcity mindset to a sufficiency mindset. And that shift changes everything that comes after it. Your decisions get better. Your opportunities get bigger. Your stress gets lower. Not because of the money itself, because of what the money signals to your brain. There's actual science behind this. Researchers at Princeton, Sendil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir, published a landmark study showing that financial scarcity literally reduces your cognitive bandwidth. In plain English, when you're worried about money, you have less mental capacity available for everything else. Your decision-making suffers. Your long-term thinking suffers. Your ability to see opportunities suffers. It's not a character flaw. It's not laziness. It is a measurable, documented psychological effect of not having a financial cushion. And the moment you build that cushion, even just $1,000, that cognitive load begins to lift. Your brain has one less fire to put out. And suddenly, you have more mental bandwidth to make better choices about everything. Let me give you some data that's going to make this very real. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent report on the economic well-being of U.S. households, 37% of American adults would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense, not $1,000, $400. Meanwhile, the median American savings account balance sits at just around $8,000. And here's the stat that really tells the whole story. The top 1% of Americans holds more wealth than the entire bottom 50% combined. These aren't random numbers. They are the direct result of what happens when generation after generation of people are never taught the foundational habits that actually build financial security. And the first, the most important foundational habit is this. Build your $1,000 emergency fund before you do anything else. All right, so how do you actually get to $1,000? Let's get specific. Step 1, and this is non-negotiable, open a separate savings account. Not the one linked to your everyday checking account. A completely separate account, ideally at a different bank entirely. Why does this matter so much? Because research consistently shows that money which is physically harder to access is money you're far less likely to spend. Out of sight really is out of mind. You want that emergency fund to feel slightly inconvenient to touch. Step 2. Set up an automatic transfer the moment you get paid. Before you buy groceries, before you pay anything optional, you pay your emergency fund first. Even $50 a week works. $50 a week is $200 a month. In 5 months, you have your $1,000. That's it. No complicated strategy. No special knowledge required. Just automation and time. Here's what most people don't anticipate. Once you've maintained that $1,000 emergency fund for 3 to 6 months without touching it, your entire relationship with money begins to shift. You stop reacting to money and start directing it. You stop making decisions from fear and start making them from a position of quiet confidence. And that confidence compounds. Every month you don't raid your emergency fund for something that isn't an emergency, you're proving something to yourself, that you are someone who can manage money responsibly. And that identity, being someone who manages money well, that's worth more than any single financial tip I could ever give you. Because identity shapes behavior, and behavior over time is what builds real wealth. Now, and this is critical, I need to tell you what not to do. Because a lot of people save their first $1,000 and then immediately spend it on something that doesn't qualify as an emergency. New phone, a vacation, holiday gifts. Something goes on sale and it's too good a deal to pass up. And just like that, they're back to zero. Back in defensive mode. Back in the scarcity mindset. Here is the rule. Say it with me. Your emergency fund is not a savings account. It is not spending money. It is not available money. It is insurance. You only access it when something genuinely breaks, fails, or creates a true financial emergency. The discipline to hold that boundary, that's the actual work. And it's the work that separates people who build lasting financial security from people who stay stuck in the cycle forever. Remember that defensive feeling we talked about at the very beginning of this video? That constant, low-level financial anxiety that makes every decision feel harder than it should be? This is what zero savings does to your brain, and it does it permanently as long as that zero persists. Every opportunity that crosses your path looks like a threat. Every unexpected expense feels like a catastrophe. The hardest part? Most people living in this mode don't even realize it. They assume this is just what being an adult feels like, that this level of financial stress is normal. It isn't. And the fastest way out of it isn't a higher salary. It isn't a new job. It isn't waiting for some perfect financial moment. It's $1,000 in a separate savings account that you commit to not touching. Once you understand this shift, truly internalize it, you'll notice something fascinating. You start making completely different decisions. Not because you suddenly have more willpower or discipline, but because your brain is operating from a different baseline. Instead of asking, can I afford to do this? You start asking, is this the best use of this money right now? That's a completely different question. The first question comes from scarcity. The second comes from strategy. And that shift from scarcity to strategy, that's the real $1,000 transformation, not the money in the account. The question you start asking. There's one more psychological layer here that I want to make sure you understand, because most financial content skips right over it. The same research that explains why financial scarcity keeps people stuck also shows us something hopeful. You don't need a large amount of money to begin breaking the cycle. Your brain doesn't need a signal of abundance. It needs a signal of safety. of non-emergency, and $1,000 is enough to send that signal. It's a small enough number that almost anyone can reach it with the right system and the right timeline, but it's large enough to meaningfully shift how your brain responds to financial stress. It is the perfect first target. Not $10,000, not $50,000, $1,000. Start there. Now let's talk about what happens after $1,000, because this is where it gets genuinely exciting. Data from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau shows that people with even a small emergency fund are significantly less likely to take on high-interest debt when an unexpected expense hits. Think about what that means. That small cushion prevents the debt spiral that keeps millions of people financially stuck for years. And once your $1,000 is established and stable, the next move becomes much clearer. You stop bleeding money through emergency borrowing. You start directing extra cash toward whatever's costing you the most. And for most people, that's high-interest credit card debt. Paying off a 22% credit card is a guaranteed 22% return on your money. No investment on earth reliably beats that. Once you've hit $1,000 and held it steady for a few months, here's your next move. You don't stop automating. You keep that transfer running, keep filling back up if you ever use the fund, but now you add one additional layer. You look at your highest interest rate debt and you start attacking it. Not all your debt at once, the highest rate first, because that's the debt that's growing fastest and costing you the most every single month you carry it. This is the moment where the momentum really starts to build. Your emergency fund is protecting you from going deeper into debt, and your extra money is now reducing existing debt. Two things working together. That combination is more powerful than any investment strategy you'll read about online. And here's where the real compounding begins. And I'm not just talking about investment compounding. I'm talking about habit compounding. Every good financial decision you make becomes slightly easier because of the last one. Every month you keep your emergency fund intact, you prove to yourself that you can do hard things. Every time you automate a transfer, instead of spending that money, you reinforce the identity of someone who is in control of their money. And that identity, it compounds faster than any interest rate. Because eventually, it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You become a person who saves. And once that identity is locked in, the entire game changes. Here's the second big mistake I see constantly. And it happens to people who are actually trying to do the right thing. They get motivated. They want to fix everything at once, save more, invest in stocks, start a side hustle, pay off all their debt simultaneously, and they burn out within 60 days because they're trying to change everything about their financial life at the same time. That's not a strategy. That's overwhelm. Pick one priority at a time. And right now, if you don't have $1,000 in a dedicated emergency fund, that is your only financial job. Not investing, not paying down every debt, not building a retirement account. $1,000, separate account, automated savings. Everything else can wait. Clarity always beats complexity. Look, I know $1,000 might feel like a long way away right now. And I know some of you watching this are in a place where you're thinking, Marcus, I can barely cover my bills as it is. How am I supposed to save anything on top of that? I hear you. I genuinely do. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Even $10 a week matters. Not primarily because of the money, although it adds up, but because of what you're training yourself to do. You are building the habit of being a saver. And that habit, once established, compounds in ways that have nothing to do with the dollar amount. You're not starting with $1,000. You're starting with the decision that you're going to get there. The people who end up financially free, the ones you look at and think they must have had some advantage, some head start, some lucky break, most of them started with less than you think. What they had wasn't more money. What they had was a system, a repeatable process that they stuck with when it was boring, when it was hard, when nothing seemed to be working yet. And your $1,000 emergency fund, that's the foundation of every system that actually works. It's not glamorous. It won't make anyone on social media jealous, but it's the move that makes every other move possible. And the people who skip it, who go straight to crypto, straight to stocks, straight to whatever sounds exciting, almost always end up starting over, because one bad month with no cushion wipes out months of progress. All right, Here's your action plan. Not someday, not when things settle down. This week. Step 1. If you don't already have one, open a separate savings account today. Most online banks take 5 minutes. Step 2. Name it emergency fund. Sounds small, but labeling it matters. It changes how your brain categorizes that money. Step 3. Set up an automatic transfer for whatever you can manage. $25 a week, $50, $100, whatever is honest. Step 4. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Let it grow. And if you want to know exactly what to do the moment you hit $1,000, how to go from your first $1,000 to your first $10,000, and what changes at that milestone, I cover that in detail in the next video. I'll put the link right here. If this video gave you even one thing to think about differently, one idea that shifted how you see money, then do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button, because every single week I'm putting out content exactly like this. No fluff, no affiliate schemes, no get rich in 30 days nonsense. Just honest, research-backed, practical information that actually changes how you think about money. And changing how you think about money is the only thing that reliably changes your financial results. That's it. That's the whole game. I'll see you in the next one, where we're going to talk about why $10,000 hits completely differently than $1,000. And trust me, the psychology behind that milestone is going to surprise you.